people from complex trauma, one of the things I hear them say to me very often is, I don't know who I am. So to begin, why don't people from complex trauma know who they are? And I want to give you 4 reasons why that is so. So if you think of a child coming into the world, they have all of these competing needs and drives inside of them. So one of the needs is, or drives, is to be authentic, to be who they are. But they also have a need to be loved, to be accepted, to connect with other people. And so a child coming into the world, if it's in a healthy home, they're able to be authentic, and they wait, will I be accepted? Will I be loved? And yes, they are accepted. Yes, they are loved. Yes, they connect. And so in their mind, being authentic is a good thing, and I can just be me, and I can be loved and connected for who I am. But bring that in complex trauma. The child comes into an unhealthy situation, and they decide to be authentic, but that doesn't work so well for them. No one wants to connect with them. They're punished or laughed at or teased or criticized for parts of who they are when they're authentic. And so what they quickly realize is, if I want to be loved, if I want to connect with people, I have to hide who I am. I can't be authentic. And so I have to learn how to wear masks. I have to learn how to sense what other people want from me and become what they want, be a chameleon. I have to adopt different roles in situations so that people will like me, respect me, and want to be my friend. And so very early on, they have this core belief that develops, I can't be who I am, I have to be somebody else. So that leads to not knowing who they really are, because the earlier in life you had to wear masks and not be authentic and adopt roles, the greater chance that you don't know who you are, because you've always worn masks, always played roles. So that's the first reason. The second characteristic of children coming into life is just a natural curiosity. So they come into life and they explore, they try new things, sports, hobbies, painting, music, and they spend time just dreaming about stuff in a fantasy world of what they would like to be one day. And if you're in a safe world, you can do that. And when you're in safety, your cortex works at its maximum, and it allows you to be curious and to explore. And all of that leads to a child figuring out what they're good at, figuring out who they are, figuring out their personality. But bring in complex trauma. When you're in survival mode, the cortex isn't working very well, and you can't be concerned about being curious about life and exploring. You're all about, what do I have to do to survive? You're in fight, flight. You're not in curiosity mode. And so you can't figure out who you are. You're just trying to survive. And then beyond that, part of what makes life unsafe for some children is that they grow up in families of abuse where they are just made servants or slaves by their parents. And it's just work, work, work. They don't have time to go out and play sports or do things with friends and other hobbies. And so it's just they're working, serving, and they don't get a chance to figure out who they are. Or some have a father who's a dictator, and he tells them how to think, how to feel. He tells them what jobs they should take. He allows only certain activities and forbids other types of hobbies. He might even tell them what university courses and career they should pursue. He regulates and controls their life. They don't have a chance to figure out who they are. And then some parents, they want their child to fulfill their dream for the child. They want their child to be a doctor or an NHL player. They don't let the child explore what they're good at, what their personality is. The child is forced to carry out the parents' dreams for them. And they don't get a chance to figure out who they are or what they want to do with their life. And then another aspect of a child living in an environment where they're safe is they get to connect with themselves. They get to explore their internal world, not just the external world. And so they can think about their emotional world. They can explore their thoughts and what they feel about different things. They can dream, they can plan, and they can get to know their impulses and their emotions and their thought world, all their internal world. They can explore that. And then they can explore, what is it I want to do with my life? What's my purpose? What do I have a passion for? All of that happens in a safe environment, in a healthy family. But what happens in complex trauma? You're surviving. You don't want to explore your internal world because your internal world is made up of painful emotions that you can't resolve. You, therefore, need to disconnect from your internal world. And so you disconnect from your emotions. You disconnect from a lot of your thinking. You disconnect from your passions and sense of purpose. You're just trying to survive and not feel. And so you don't connect to your external world or to your internal world. You don't have time to explore dreams, all of that stuff. There's one other aspect of what happens to a child in a healthy world when they're authentic versus a child in complex trauma. In a healthy world, if you're allowed to be authentic and your parents provide a loving environment, safe environment, if your parents are living fairly healthy life and role modeling healthy behaviors, you're in a world where you're learning about hard work and honesty and reliability and respect. But what happens if you're a child in complex trauma where it's very unsafe and you don't have good role models? Well, you have to lie to survive. You can't be always reliable because some days you're running. You have an anger problem because you fight back. You avoid, you shut down. You develop ways of coping that let you survive, but they aren't healthy. And so what happens is you're actually building kind of a dark side, a part of you that is very dishonest, very unreliable, very disrespectful. That dark side is where you have to live in order to survive. And so what I find with some clients is when they get into recovery, into a safe environment, and they start looking at themselves, they go, I don't know who I am, but I'm afraid I'm my dark side. That's the real me. And sadly, for many, that is a very discouraging thought that causes them to feel I'm too messed up. But because their dark side had to be so big in order to survive, they really don't know who the real little them is underneath that dark side. So what I want to do tonight is just look at, are there practical tools that can help us find out who we are? And so let's begin with what makes us who we are. How do you define in general categories what makes a human a human? So let me give you 3 areas that are important in my mind that define who we are. So number 1, we have a personality. And what I mean by a personality is our basic wiring that governs how I interact with the world, how I think, my learning style, how I process information, how I feel loved, how I want to give love. It is basically my unique wiring that makes me different from everybody. It comes in, it is born into me, I'm hardwired with it, and so it'll make me outgoing, shy. It'll make me a leader, a follower, very detail-oriented, etc. That's my basic personality. Everybody has one. Everybody's is a little bit different. The second thing is we all come into the world with certain things that we're just naturally good at, skills, talents, abilities. So some are just naturally just gifted in sports. Others are very klutzy in sports. Others are great with math. Others are terrible with math. Some love abstract stuff. Some need very concrete stuff. Some are very artistic. Some love music. Some love organizing. Some are great in drama, theater, and acting. Some love to cook. Some are great at teaching. All of those skills are part of who we are. And again, we're born with those, but they have to develop as we try different things, as we learn about those things. And then the third part of what makes us who we are is our deepest passions. What is our purpose for life? What excites us? And so some people get really excited about certain topics, history, philosophy, and they just want to explore that. Others have a passion for helping people, or for helping animals, or for helping underprivileged people. Built into all of us, there's a certain passion that defines what we feel is our purpose for being alive. So those three things just are helpful categories in understanding what makes us human.